Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, bring. Hey, everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. I am Marcus Grant with Jeff Spiegel on a Monday. Greg Bergman is, I don't know, how should we say, he's what, DNP.
Yeah. Not coach's decision.
Not coach's decision. I don't know. He's
10-day IL?
Something like that. Yeah. Hopefully he's back tomorrow. We're not sure if he's. We know where he is. We're not sure if he's going to be back tomorrow. Everything's well. I started the show with panic. Don't need to do that. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. We got plenty to talk about here on this Monday after an interesting weekend. I guess at Dodger baseball. Of course, as always, joined by Jeff Spiegel on a Monday. How are we feeling on this Monday, Jeff?
It's early. I don't know if I should say good morning or good evening because it feels like it might still be nighttime. So.
You know, we were just getting used to sort of waking up with some sunlight. Now we're waking up in the dark again.
Yeah.
Not great.
Not great. But I am well. Thank you. It's glad to be with you, Marcus.
Appreciate it. Glad to see you this morning. Anyway, the Blue Review, before we get too far into this, is powered by LAX. We are taking off. You can learn more about all the incredible changes happening now at LAX by going to lawa.org/ESPN. All right, well, I want to start because you guys over at Dodger Blue 1958 have quite a bit of news. But you guys over the weekend did a kind of a top 5 spring storylines for the Dodgers so far. And it's funny, we talked to you. You've been out there. We talked to Katie Wu on Friday. A word that keeps coming up when we talk about the Dodgers in spring training is that it has been boring, but in a good way, right?
Yeah.
This is a team that is a back-to-back World Series champion. They certainly have designs on going for 3 in a row. But because of that, it's just been sort of workman-like ho-hum. You know who's pretty much going to be on the roster.
Yeah.
So in that regard, what is one of the big storylines from this group so far this spring?
I mean, I think the first storyline is it is good news when things are boring in Dodgers camp because that means nothing catastrophic has happened. Nobody has completely crapped the bed when they were expected not to. For the most part, I'm gonna asterisk that and say for the most part because, like you said, there's enough veteran players on this team, guys who have established roles that we don't have to really pay that close attention to like what Mookie Betts' batting average is or what Max Muncy's batting average is in spring training. So. That, I think, is the good news. But I do think there's a few pieces around the edges that have been exciting, interesting, conversation-worthy for sure. And you can't go very far without first talking about Roki Sasaki. He is the biggest storyline in Dodgers camp. And one of the things we've talked about on our show, Marcus, if you even just set aside whatever you think about Roki, because I've found out on my show it's a very polarizing topic, and there's people that are ready to die for this man. And then there's people that disagree with them. But to me, what's most interesting about this, Marcus, is that the Dodgers just came out at the beginning of the spring and said, this guy's going to be in the rotation. This guy's going to be built up. This guy's going to be one of our dudes. And now I'm starting to wonder if they regret that decision simply because he hasn't proven it. He hasn't earned it. And now he's going to be pitching on the backfields for his next outing. And I just wonder if the Dodgers kind of got a little over their skis. And not that I'm out on him long term, but I don't know what optimism is out there to believe that when this guy starts in the rotation on opening day, that he's going to be able to make a ton of really effective starts for this team right now.
Well, I guess part of it is one of his last starts. I know there was a pitching ninja sort of side by side of his mechanics in the World Series versus what the mechanics have been so far this spring. And there is a little bit of a difference there. And I know that was part of the change last season, right? He went down to OKC. He worked on a lot of things. He got healthy, but the mechanics were a big part of that. Is this, I mean, I don't know, unless we're somehow in those rooms, but was he tweaked again? Has he just sort of forgotten his training? I mean, I'm not sure what the difference is between what we've seen from Roki Sasaki so far this spring versus the guy who was damn near unhittable in the postseason last year.
Yeah, and the tricky part about when you talk about mechanics and Roki Sasaki is there were some of this going on his final season in Japan as well. If you remember, when he came over, he had lost velocity. And one of his questions to every team that he met with is, how are you going to be able to fix me, basically? And, there's a lot of talk of like, well, was he injured? Was he healthy? To me, if injury was the problem, you don't come over to teams and say, how are you going to fix me? You would just say, you would ask doctors that question. You wouldn't ask Mark Pryor and Dave Roberts that question. And so that's the part that concerns me, because I think in the first start, I was willing to sort of take a deep breath and say, okay, he got absolutely shredded in the first like 4 or 5 batters, but then he bounces back. He gets a few strikeouts, comes back in the second inning, gets him out. Okay. First start of Cactus League. He's a little off. He's able to right the ship, get things right. But then he comes back in his second start and does the exact same thing and gets shelled at the beginning, regroups because it's spring training. He's allowed to be pulled, take a deep breath. Pryor works with him. And then he was really good for the second and the third inning in this game. And so, again, I'm not saying he's going to be like a 12 ERA guy in the regular season, but I'm fascinated by this because people are going to tell you it's no big deal. I don't think it's no big deal that he's making his next start on the backfield. It's like,
Right.
It isn't just because they don't have anywhere else they can pitch him. They could pitch him in a game. They just don't think that in a game he's going to be able to get the work that he needs in the environment that they need him to get them. So it's not all over. It's not doom and gloom. It's not like the world is burning. This isn't going to make or break the Dodgers. Maybe we'll start there. That's the good news. But I do think it's at the very least for a pretty boring camp. I would say that is the biggest storyline that we've got going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the one that Greg and I we keep coming back to is the rotation in general, but Roki specifically, just because the expectations have been ratcheted up after what we saw in October, and so far it hasn't quite been there so far this season. But I mean, the rest of that, again, we sort of come back to, and I know we kind of talked about this last week, no Gavin Stone for at least the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The news that there's no structural damage certainly is encouraging about Gavin Stone, but you still have, Justin Robleski, Emmett Sheehan, River Ryan, essentially battling for one spot in the rotation. If you were going to sort of handicap that horse race, who is leading for that last spot?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the rotation, so just Yamamoto is going to be fully built up. Tyler Glasnow is going to be fully built up. Ohtani is kind of a mystery because he's not pitching in the World Baseball Classic. And if Japan goes all the way to the championship, I believe he'd be getting back to LA camp around a week before opening day. So is he built up enough to be able to even give you 3-ish innings come opening day? Remains to be seen on that. And then Blake Snell, we know, is not going to be available. So, I mean, you mentioned, because when you say there's only one spot left, we're believing the Dodgers when they're penciling Roki Sasaki into one of the 4 spots. Right. And that's the tricky part for me. To think that Roki Sasaki right now gives the Dodgers a better chance to win than Sheehan, Robleski, or River Ryan. I just don't, that's not where I'm at right now. But I think it's fair to say, all right, the Dodgers keep telling us this guy's going to be in the rotation. We'll see. The other piece, before I answer your question, that's worth pointing out is, yes, the Dodgers will eventually be in a 6-man rotation. They don't need a 6-man rotation for like the first month of the season because of off days. So they're going to be able to do 5-man rotation. Everybody gets an extra day, that kind of a thing. If I had to guess on those 3, I would guess Emmett Sheehan, because I think Emmett Sheehan is the most likely of the 3 to be able to have a full workload this season. I think he was the de facto guy last year. He was fantastic. I don't think he has done anything to cost himself that job. I think River Ryan might be the best of the 3, and that's saying something because Emmett Sheehan was fantastic. River Ryan has looked unbelievable, but I just don't see a world where River Ryan throws more than like 115 innings this year. And if that's the case, I don't want him using his bullets in March and April and May. And then Robleski, I think, deserves to be in this rotation, but because of the numbers game, he might find himself on the outside looking in. I mean, he had another 3 innings, I believe, no hits yesterday in that game. So all 3 of those guys have been fantastic. And so the good news is, with Snell missing opening day, with Gavin Stone experiencing a setback, the Dodgers still have plenty of arms that they can throw at this rotation.
We are, by the way, believing this is just a setback, right? Because in the past, Dave Roberts, with his medical opinions, has not necessarily been great. But this is just we're taking precaution. We're shutting him down, and we're going to reevaluate in a couple of weeks, right?
And I'll say this: shoulders are horrifying. Like if
Yeah.
you have a pitcher and you could choose between them having an elbow injury and needing Tommy John or having shoulder surgery, you would take Tommy John every single day of the week because
Right.
we have gotten so good at them that it's predictable. We know how guys are going to bounce back. That's why River Ryan seems to be doing fine. Shoulders are what caused Brusdar Gratterall's status for like 3 consecutive years to be like the shrug emoji, right? We just don't know how guys are going to bounce back. So the fact that Stone is having setbacks is, I would say, highly concerning. It is good news that it's just inflammation, like you said, but I would not be penciling Gavin Stone into anything, which sucks because I love Gavin Stone.
Yeah.
He had the one outing, he looked great. And so hopefully shut him down for 4 weeks, let everything settle down, and then start him back up and see what happens again. I was not expecting more than 90 to 110 innings from Gavin Stone either. So it's not a huge deal long term that he's out right now. But yeah, shoulders are no joke.
Yeah, I know it's a thing. Multiple people have said that we have, as a as a people, we've gotten good at fixing elbows. We have not quite gotten as good at fixing shoulders yet. So we'll see sort of what happens there.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, it looks like Santiago Espinal has pretty much claimed a spot
Yeah.
on this roster. I mean, everything that we're hearing, everything we're seeing, the way he's hit so far in the spring suggests he is going to be there on opening day. So in that case, who is the person who gets squeezed? I mean, I know Alex Freeland has done nothing wrong, but it seems like he's kind of the odd man out right now.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I think Espinal is going to be the backup third baseman. I think the debate we've been having, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on how often he plays, because Espinal's a righty and he has hit well in his entire career against lefties. And so you have a guy at third base in Max Muncy, who is one of the best third basemen in all of Major League Baseball. However, his splits against left-handed pitching are really bad, like really, really bad for a couple of seasons now. And so we've debated on our show, Marcus, and I'm curious what you think. Like, would you go straight platoon every time a lefty is on the mound starting against the Dodgers? Espinal is in there, or does Max Muncy get some of those days? Keeping in mind that, you see, I believe last year I looked up this number because we debated it. I believe it's like 29% of games last year the Dodgers had a lefty on the mound. So Max Muncy would still be playing 7 out of every 10 games, even if he's sitting every time against lefties. But I think Espinal has earned that job. The question is how often he will be playing.
Well, I think the other issue at play, though, is not having Tommy Edman for the first part of the season, too, because you also have Ha-Seong Kim, who you absolutely can't play against left-handed pitching. So I think that, at least in the short term, is probably where Espinal is going to platoon, because if given the choice of Max Muncy versus a lefty versus Ha-Seong Kim versus a lefty, Muncy's going to be in the lineup. Like, that's just what it is.
And Rojas will be in the mix.
That's true.
So Rojas and Espinal would likely be your second and third baseman in some capacity against left-handed pitching, and then Kim and Muncy would be against right-handed pitching, I think is the general roadmap to how they're going to play this one. And Rojas could play a little bit more than just against lefties, but I think those are the two. So to go back to your initial question, I do think it's Alex Freeland. And it's kind of a bummer because at the beginning it was like, man, both of these guys are having great springs. Kim and Freeland both came out of the gates hot. And it was like, okay, good. Like, I don't want to see anybody lose this job. I'd like to see somebody win it. Ha-Seong Kim was fantastic. Unfortunately, both guys have cooled off in the last couple of weeks. Ha-Seong Kim had an absolutely monstrous home run that was insane. and unfortunately, I don't believe has a single hit other than that in 10 plate appearances. And then Alex Freeland's batting average now starts with a 1, even though he's walking like 40% of the time. So I think I feels pretty good that it's going to be a Kim and Rojas platoon at second and Espinal and Muncy platoon at third. And, and then the last question would be, who's the fourth outfielder? I think it's going to be Alex Call because he's not playing every day. But I do want to just mention, because I think one other storyline that is a fun storyline, an exciting storyline that, maybe could be going under the radar if you're not paying super close attention is the 2 young outfielders that the Dodgers brought in. And the backstory to this is Dustin May got traded by the Dodgers at the deadline. You might remember Dustin May wasn't very good when the Dodgers traded him. He was a pending free agent, and yet the Dodgers sent him to the Red Sox for 2 young prospects, Zach Earhart and James Tibbs.
Yeah.
And both guys came into the Dodgers system and absolutely mashed last season. Like there was like a spike as soon as they came into the system. Well, this spring, both these guys have been awesome. Earhart is slashing 355, 429, 581. Tibbs is slashing 333, 419, 667. Both guys are going to be starting in AAA. And the short version is I think both of these guys are going to be good. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be like all-stars, superstar level players, but I think the Dodgers got two major league quality outfielders with versatility, with a little bit of a difference between the two. Tibbs, our guy Bruce, compared to like a Jock Peterson type, where maybe he's like one side of a platoon and he's not the greatest outfielder you've ever seen, but he hits enough to be there. Whereas Earhart is kind of like does everything well, but maybe doesn't do anything like amazingly. So that's been just a fun storyline to watch because I think those guys are going to play real. I was going to say minutes, but I guess that doesn't work in baseball. But real innings. They're going to play real innings for the Dodgers this year, and I think that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh, it's funny. I'm glad you said that too, because that was kind of where I was going to go next, right? With the way those guys have been hitting so far this spring, and it kind of makes me wonder. I know it's all hypothetical, right? But people, sort of asking the question, what happens at the trade deadline if you need a piece? Does a guy perhaps like, as much as it hurts my heart, does a guy like Teoscar Hernandez potentially end up on the trading block, right? What happens to, some of these guys that are kind of fringe outfielders who they end up getting moved? And it seems like right now, certainly the way Tibbs is hitting, the way Earhart is hitting, this makes it maybe more of a real, again, I know July is a long way away right now, but it kind of makes an interesting question. If these guys continue to play in OKC the way they've played in the spring, that suddenly this gives the Dodgers a little bit more flexibility. Again, if they move Teo, I'm super sad about it, but understand the business of it. This does seem like it kind of presses that issue a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, the one piece I would sort of maybe diverge is I would guess this would be more of a 2027 conversation than a 2026 conversation, because while I think these guys are probably getting major league reps in like 20 out of 30 organizations in Major League Baseball, they just happen to be on the Dodgers. I don't necessarily know if you're going to get like high quality right away performances. I mean, even guys like Alex Freeland, who's a top 50 prospect who had probably a way more quote unquote predictable bat, he struggled mightily. Dalton Rushing struggled mightily. But I do think this makes it interesting when you look ahead to 2027, because all of a sudden the Dodgers outfield, as you project this out a year, 2 years, starts to get crowded. You have Andy Pages, who is a young guy who was fantastic last year, 4-win player, can play center field. So you've got him. You've got Kyle Tucker signed for, 4 years, however many years he ends up sticking around on that contract before the opt-outs. But then you've got Earhart and Tibbs who are going to be in AAA. And then you've got the 4 studs who are all top 50-ish prospects that are all going to be in AA, likely Quintero, DePaula, Hope, and Sirota. So you've got 7 young outfielders plus Kyle Tucker who are going to be in AA or above. And that's without even mentioning Alex Call, who's kind of a rotational backup type, I think, platoon guy for sure. And then Ryan Ward, who was sent down to Oklahoma City yesterday. So the outfield is a fascinating, like the starting pitching and the outfield is one of these groups where there's like 10 guys for 5 spots, or in the outfield, there's like 8 guys for 3 spots. So it's a good problem to have for the Dodgers.
By the way, too, we should just clip this and send this out to all those people around the country, around the world, who talk about the Dodgers are breaking baseball because they're just signing up a lot of big names. Yes, they are signing a lot of big names. There's a lot down in the pipeline too that is sort of being developed too. So,
and real quick on the Teo thing.
Yeah.
So we do bold predictions on our show, and as many people who watch our show know, some of my bold predictions last year were atrocious. Michael Conforto. But some of my bold predictions were actually really good. And one of the bold predictions I made prior to last season was like, I think they trade Dustin May before the trade deadline. And everybody was like, no, you can never have too much pitching. Why would you ever do this? Like, if this guy's healthy, they're going to need him. Well, guess what? He was healthy. I believe he had the third most innings of any Dodger pitcher last year, behind Yamamoto and Clayton Kershaw. And then they moved him. And what do? They go get Earhart and Tibbs. So as we talk about Teoscar Hernandez, I don't think it's going to happen. But I just offer it as a suggestion of, if there's a world where they get to the deadline and people are desperate, that's what the deadline is. And who knows, maybe they get a call on Teoscar Hernandez that to them is like, well, wait a minute, you're going to give us this guy and this guy? Teoscar? And
right.
Yes, it might make us slightly worse in the short term. Excuse me. But if they could load up for the long term and believe they have some sort of Earhart, Tibbs, Ryan Ward, Alex Call, maybe one of the young guys makes a huge jump move that they don't think is like destroys their odds of going out and winning World Series. Because remember, they could just stick Tommy Edman in center field and move Pages over. There's lots of ways they could put Hesung Kim out there. Like, they have flexibility. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the first time they traded away a starting player in the midst of a World Series run in order to retool down the road.
Yeah, that is certainly, in the realm of possibilities. It'll be interesting to see sort of how this plays out. And besides that, I mean, we need some other storylines to talk about from now until October, because if this team goes out and wins 95 games or more, not gonna be a whole lot to nitpick about. I don't think for months. You mentioned Clayton Kershaw, the WBC going on. We're memory holding his World Baseball Classic performance so far, right? Like this, it's sort of like the fourth Indiana Jones movie. It just didn't really happen, right?
It's a retirement tour. This is like he's playing in the Celebrity All-Star Game, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't mean that as disrespectful to the World Baseball Classic, because the World Baseball Classic, by all accounts, is awesome. People love it. But yes, I will not be holding against him anything that happens in this tournament. Although I will say, I know not everybody loves Pat McAfee, but I thought the bit where Kershaw pitched to Pat McAfee was pretty awesome. So if you haven't seen that, it's a good.
I'll have to check that out. I have not seen that. Just because I have you here in non-baseball things, what was harder for you this weekend? The time change or the Raiders trading away Max Crosby?
Greg Bergman and I went back and forth. He was very anti-trading Crosby. I was pro-trading Crosby the whole time. I love Max Crosby. I want him to go be able to play for a team that's competitive. And the Raiders actually did something smart. I do love this, and you're part of the NFL media, and I'm not blaming you, Marcus, but I'm blaming, the group of people that you represent.
Okay.
I love that I was told for like a month and a half that the Raiders would never get 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. And then when they did get 2 first-round picks, people still found a way to crap on the Raiders. And I was like, you can't have both, people. You can't tell me they're crazy for asking for it. Then they get it, and you're like, well, but I mean, come on, like that's not a good trade for the Raiders. So it's bittersweet for sure, but I think it's best for the Raiders. So
no, because between you and Greg, I have some other close friends who are Raiders fans, and I said the same thing to all of you, that if you love somebody, then you set them free.
There you go.
And I think that is sort of the case with Max Crosby. So hey, go to Baltimore, go shine. As for the Raiders, you get some assets back, and now the trick is to not squander that. You got draft picks, you have plenty of cap space. So it is up to the Raiders front office to not squander any of that. Yeah. And whether that happens, that's a different conversation for another time and a completely different show.
Real quick, by the way, we mentioned World Baseball Classic. We mentioned Kershaw. Public service announcement for baseball fans: if you have not engaged in the World Baseball Classic yet, I'm not going to say I totally blame you. There's some of these games have not been great. I believe it was like 16-0 Brazil versus Mexico last night.
Yeah.
USA versus Mexico is tonight. Paul Skeens is expected to pitch for the U.S. This is 5:00 Pacific time, and this is going to be an electric environment game. It's sold out, all the things. So 5:00 tonight. If you don't have plans, USA versus Mexico will be worth your time. So on Fox. So there you go.
Yeah, I was even set your DVRs. I don't know if people still actually have DVRs, but if
TiVo,
you do,
or TiVo it.
Yeah, just TiVo it. That's all you got to do is just TiVo it. Yeah, no, some of these games have been really good. I will say that the Pool A of games has been good because all those teams were fairly evenly matched. I mean, no surprise, Japan is dominating. The Dominican has been very good. The U.S. has been very good. So all of those are as expected, but tonight should be really interesting between the USA and Mexico. Before we let you go, Jeff, what's going on at Dodger Blue?
Yes, huge announcement we put out last night. Fabian Ardaya of The Athletic is joining us as a regular contributor on our show. So he will be about once a week hopping on our show as part of the Dodger Heads team. So we are thrilled about that. Fabian's the best. And so Sunday nights, for the most part, will be his nights. Next Sunday will be his first one. So Dodger Heads on YouTube. Dodger Blue 1958 is the name of the channel. But Fabian Ardaya joining us. We are very excited. So we'll be live Tuesday and Thursday, me and Anthony, and then me and Fabian will be live next Sunday.
Very cool. Very cool. Love Fabian. So be sure to check that out over at Dodger Blue 1958. In the meantime, time for us to wrap it up for this edition of the Blue Review. Jeff, as always, good to see you. Hopefully we'll see you next Monday when we're all more adjusted to this time.
Seriously.
Thanks to Jonathan for getting us up and on. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to LAX. Stick around. The Sedano and Cab Morning Extravaganza is coming your way here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. And if you missed this or you came in a little bit late, this will replay for you at 10:30 in the morning. So in the meantime, for John, for Jeff, I am Marcus. This has been the Blue Review presented by LAX. We'll see you here tomorrow, 6:30 to 6:55 on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. See you.